Well, leaving court to the lovely sound of sirens, and we just got the Diddy verdict. I was wrong, I admit. I was wrong on a lot of things. I thought we were going to get a verdict on Thursday. I thought that he was going to be found guilty on everything except the RICO. I thought maybe they would hang on RICO, but it looks like the government did not prove a lot of the charges. So he's guilty on the transportation to engage in prostitution charges. Those were two charges, one for Cassie and one for quote unquote Jane. There were also two charges for sex trafficking under the theory of force, fraud, and coercion for both of those women. And he was found not guilty on those charges, and he was found not guilty on the RICO charge as well, which was the biggie. So what does that mean? It looks like he's facing a maximum of 10 years incarceration on each count. Now, does that mean he's going to get it? It doesn't. Does that also mean that it's 20 years if you add the two together? No, it doesn't. A judge does not have to run those counts consecutively. The judge can run the counts concurrently, which means 10 and not 20. As I've said before on Law and Crime and other places where I've been interviewed, a lot of this is going to depend on what the offer was pre-trial, because a lot of times the judge says, look, you had an opportunity to plead guilty before going to trial. They made you an offer of X amount of years. You declined that offer. You made us go through the pain and money and all of this of a trial, re-exposing the victims to their trauma. And now you're not going to get that same deal. You're going to get worse. Of course, the problem there is we don't know what worse is. We don't know what that deal was. But my overall thoughts are this was a loss for the government. Listen, I think people, that is jurors and just people in general, are sick of the government overcharging people. I'm not saying Diddy was, an angel. I'm not saying he did nothing wrong. He obviously did. I'm not even saying he didn't deserve to be charged with sex trafficking. But I do think that a jury takes all this into consideration, and lawyers, in particular trial lawyers, need to realize this. You need to remember, you got to get your nose out of the books. You got to get your nose out of the statutes. This is not just about what meets the black letter law, what meets the elements of a statute. You are dealing with human beings, real people on your jury, and they're going to find guilt and not guilt, not just based on that, but based on a lot of other things, whether they should or shouldn't. We always say, as jurors, you have to follow the law, you have to follow what the judge tells you, you have to follow the charges. If the evidence is there beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find guilty, but in practice, that's just not what it is. And prosecutors in particular need to remember this verdict and think about the charging decisions that they make and the strategies that they take in the future.